All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is the premiere episode of World Class Retrospective, and I am your host, Austin Skinner. Who else could do it? Nobody. It's January. It's 1982. Let's travel back, shall we? Welcome to episode 1. All right, on this edition of World Class Championship Wrestling, Kerry and Kevin Von Erich take on the duo of Arman, Hussein, and Killer Tim Brooks, and that will be a tag team match main event. Plus, the Great Kabuki in action. Big Daddy Bundy goes one-on-one with the Monk, and much, much more. Before all that, guys, I just wanted to kind of give a little backstory on this. I've done podcasts before. I actually did one for 4 years, IcoPod, and that was focused on early 90s WWF television. So, like some of the first Raws, some of the pay-per-views at the time, In Your House, all that sort of thing. And I did that with my co-host, Bob Colling Jr. Now, that was in association with the same website associated with this podcast, and that is WrestlingRecaps.com. If you've never been over there, there are countless reviews, and that's kind of where I'll be pulling a lot of my own reviews from for this show. So I have pretty much watched the entirety of 1982 World Class Championship Wrestling television. And I figured, because I'm super passionate about it, for some reason, here in 2024, with how hot wrestling is right now on TV, I hearken back to the territory days. The simple, the dirty, the black and white, as far as storylines go, not quite color, not that far back. Uh, just the glory days of pro wrestling. And I think a lot of people would agree with me that it's a nice palate cleanser to go from stuff you see on TV now in 2024 to then in January of 1982. So that's where we'll be starting here. Again, I love World Class. I love the talent that's come out of World Class. There's a lot of unsung heroes in World Class. There's a lot of hidden gems match-wise. So I can't wait to take you guys through that journey. It's been a pleasure writing about it, so I'm even more excited to talk about it, if that makes sense to you. Getting right into it here, we are, of course, in the world-famous Dallas Sportatorium. What I would give to have visited that building before it became pretty much an empty lot, like it is now. Running down our match card for the evening tonight, opening contest, we have Tom Boogaloo Shaft versus Carlos Zapata. Second contest, the Monk will be taking on Big Daddy Bundy. Third match of the evening, we have the Great Kabuki versus Jesse Relampago Leon, and I'm probably saying that wrong. And finally, our main event, again, that's Killer Tim Brooks and Arman Hussein versus Kerry and Kevin Von Erich. I will also note here, just like Peacock does and formerly the WWE Network, depending on where you live, there was some original production technical difficulties here. According to Peacock, they've presented it in the most complete form possible. So that's kind of what you're working with. If you don't have Peacock, get Peacock, because you can go and watch Territory Wrestling from 1982. So why wouldn't you want to do that? Because I do, obviously. So we will get right into it. I'd like to do a quick breakdown of each match, kind of give you my thoughts on it, and as cliche as possible, give you a match rating, because that's what you do if you're a wrestling fan and you like things or don't like things. You put stars on it. So we will be no different here on World Class Retrospective. So count on that. To open our show, Gene Goodson, who is our commentator at this time, he welcomes us to the program. And not only is Gene there, oh no, he is joined by special guest commentator Jose Lothario. That's right, the legendary Jose Lothario. So there you go. You got that. While they ran down the card, Gene compared Big Daddy Bundy to Andre the Giant in strength, which I don't know about that. He also made note that Kabuki will be making his local television debut here tonight. So imagine being in a living room in front of a tube TV in 1982. You're a little kid, maybe 10, maybe 11, maybe. And you see the Great Kabuki on TV for the first time. Who knows, this might be your first color TV in the house. I can't even imagine the image of the Great Kabuki coming on your TV screen for the first time in 1982. Had to be spectacular. I'm jealous of that 10 or maybe 11-year-old. That doesn't exist. Going to the first match of the evening tonight, we have Tom Shaft again versus Carlos Zapata. Shaft and Zapata squared off in a singles match with a 10-minute time limit. Zapata attacks Shaft from behind to start the match, getting an early advantage. Shaft fought back, forcing Zapata to bail to the floor and take a breather. Shaft played to the crowd while holding a long-standing side headlock, which, guys, unfortunately, it's 1982. We're in for quite a bit of standing side headlocks. Just a disclaimer there for you. After the headlock and playing to the crowd, we saw a little bit of sloppy offense from Shaft before he again locked on another side headlock. It was apparent here that Carlos Zapata was the more polished wrestler, in my opinion. But that didn't do him any good. Tom Shaft picks up the win with a running hip attack off an Irish whip. Now, as much as I like Tom Boogaloo Shaft on the surface, I think he's got something. I don't know what it is, but he's got something. I'm only giving this one a half a star. It was a pretty lackluster showcase, which is what I think it was supposed to be for Tom Boogaloo Shaft. So kind of a bummer, but we won't write him off just yet. You know, that happens. You know, we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on him moving forward. Second match of the evening. The Monk versus Big Daddy Bundy. Bundy, of course, who we will know later on in about 10 years, maybe a little bit less. Big Daddy Bundy will be King Kong Bundy. So he'll be bald. He'll be a very large man, monster heel, main eventing WrestleMania 2. So this is kind of where he cuts his teeth, which again, we're going to see a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of guys that you're like, oh, wait, I know that guy. He got really famous and was in the WWF/WWE, and he's in their Hall of Fame now. And I've seen his stuff. A lot of guys, whether you know it or not, started in World Class Championship Wrestling. So Bundy here is no exception. Bundy and Monk were to square off in a singles match tonight, and that was a 10-minute time limit. Bundy, surprisingly, was the solid fan favorite here tonight, which caught me off guard because obviously he's not that, most famously. Bundy here is in decent shape with a full head of hair, which again, pretty shocking. Not what we're used to seeing with Bundy. As far as the match goes, early on, Monk tried to work Bundy over with a hammerlock. No luck. After being manhandled several times, Monk bailed to the floor. Monk got some good strikes in on the corner with Bundy in the corner, but Bundy would rally back with a strong bear hug into a stiff spine buster for a 3 count. My opinion, a decently impressive showcase here for Big Daddy Bundy. He closed things out with that impactful finish, and it earns a full star for me. I mean, compared to the first showcase match with Shaft, not much of a comparison. Bundy was definitely came off more impressive and more of a guy we should pay probably specific attention to. Before we go into our next match, we do have a couple of interviews here to present. As a precursor, I kind of want to let you guys know that I intend on including the footage from these interviews as much as I can, or as much as I can clip into them, which I won't do too much of the jawing here. I'll kind of let the footage speak for itself. Let's go right into it here. We have Gene Goodson standing by with the one, the only, Tom Boogaloo Shaft. Gene, go ahead, take it away.
I'm in the major leagues now, World Class Championship Wrestling. Isn't this something? It really is. And I've got with me right now a man from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he says that he's the one that made Milwaukee famous, not that beer, whatever the name of it is. But here is the one and only Tom Boogaloo Shaft. Tom.
That's a TV announcer. You said that just right. You know the bill, everybody drank the bill. I guess they got something loose in the head because they get kind of, you know, moochy-mokey. But let me tell you something, world class. You know what I mean, world class. That is high as you can go in San Antonio, Texas. We're going to have wrestling matches there. I don't know what the date, and I don't care what the date. But Tom Shaft going to be there. We're going to have some tough guys. We're going to have that crazy African, Arman Hussein and Killer Brooks. And we got one of the best managers in the world. That's the guy that got that crazy guy, Kabuki, right? Yeah, well, true. Yeah, you know, Kabuki is rough and tough. Kabuki like to kick and knock down people. But let me tell you something. Tom Boogaloo Shaft won 48 tough man competition. That's where the police, the judge, and anybody who want to fight in the city can fight. Everybody. There's no law on that. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. Whenever I come over to that place, what they call San Antonio, it's going to be a whole lot of knockdown and drag out because there ain't nothing I like better than one fight. Kabuki and his manager and everybody else, and that's another fight, Mr. TV announcer.
That's right. Here's the tough man champion. Recently won it in Detroit, Michigan. You got to tell us about that, Tom. Tell us about what that is.
Well, a tough man competition is when a lot of people get together in a city and a purse for like $10,000, and anybody, any human being, any son, bone of the mother that want to fight in it, all they have to do is sign his name and get the doctor okay. Anybody, it don't matter who they are. And I have won 48. I just came off one from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I just went to Detroit and won one. When I'm in my off time in wrestling, that's what I'm doing, trying to stay tough. So Kabuki and Tabuki and his manager and everybody else, you better watch out because old Boogaloo Shaft is here and I'll eat you alive, baby.
Tom Boogaloo Shaft, everybody. And now, let's pause for these words and right back for some more action.
Again, this is our first episode. I won't do these long introductions moving forward, but just so you know and kind of have a heads up that I'm going to try to splice in as much footage, segment and interview-wise as I can. My thoughts on the interview here with Gene and Tom. Shaft's a former strongman. You know, that's what they're kind of building him off of. He mentions Kabuki, which I think right now at Tom's stage would be kind of a train wreck. But I guess maybe I'm here for it because, again, I like Tom Shaft. I think that he has potential. And obviously, Kabuki's awesome. So if we can get Shaft and Kabuki together, maybe we can get a second first impression for Tom Shaft. That would be a little bit better. Who knows? We'll see. Throwing it to our next interview, Gene Goodson is again standing by with two stars of the promotion, Kerry and Kevin Von Erich. Gene, it's all yours.
Right back real fresh from Atlanta, Georgia. Here's one of the Von Erich boys, Kevin.
Well, yeah, that's right. I just got back from Atlanta. I went out there kind of to get a little exposure on this nationwide TV because it goes a lot of places, but things were a little slow out there. You know, Gene, I'm sure you'll agree with me and anyone else. The king of professional wrestling is right here in Texas. This is my home. This is where I want to be forever. And this is where the good competition is, so this is where I intend on staying.
Thank you, Kevin. And here's another of the Von Erich boys. Here is Kerry.
That's right, Gene. I am Kerry. Gene, tonight my brother and I are wrestling Arman Hussein and Tim Brooks. It's going to be a very exciting match. I think all the people should stay with us. We're going to give it our best shot. My brother and I are in the best shape we've been in, well, I think in our life. My brother has been all over the world and all over the country, and he's in great shape, and I'm looking forward to tag teaming with him again.
Now, is this for the title tonight?
No, it's not for the title, but if those two were any kind of men at all that had that title up tonight, but I'm sure it will be up in the near future.
Because Arman Hussein and, excuse me, Kevin, I didn't want to interrupt this guy too often. Arman and Killer Tim Brooks are now the U.S. Tag Team Champions, and and that's what I wanted to know about.
I know you don't want to interrupt me. Let me interrupt you then.
Okay.
These guys are the champs, and we look at them like another step going up the ladder. This guy is in shape. You can look at him with his shirt off, and you can see that he wrestles alligators in his spare time. But you give me Brooks, and you give me Hussein and Kerry, or my brother Dave as a partner, and we're going to tear it down. I tell you, we've never been beaten in a fair tag team match. We pride ourselves not to be bragging, but anytime we're together, we're going to be giving it all we got. Let me say one thing about Kabuki. This guy has been kicking people's heads off. He's got lightning in his feet, and when he hits you, you're hearing thunder in your head, too. And he's been giving my dad some trouble with spitting this stuff in his eyes. And let me tell you, I've been doing some learning, some thinking. I can't wait to get Kabuki in the ring. There's going to be some fire and brimstone.
From the most famous name in wrestling, the Von Erichs, Kerry and Kevin. Thank you, gentlemen.
So as you heard right there, I mean, I don't know if I have to say it, but I will. Kevin obviously carried the interview, right? Kerry, with a lack of a better term, is hot garbage on the mic, which bums me out because I am a Kerry Von Erich mark. Out of all the Von Erichs, I probably like him the most. He just has the most charisma without needing to talk. So when he does, and it's kind of a jumbled mess, it kind of sucks. You gotta love him though. He's kind of just like a lovable meathead guy. He even kind of laughs and stumbles and repeats his own name, which is kind of funny. Again, they mentioned Kabuki. You know, there's definitely bad blood between the Great Kabuki, Gary Hart, and the Von Erichs, even way back in early 1982. So we'll have to see how that develops. Now, whether or not we see Kerry or Kevin facing off against Kabuki soon, that would be an awesome TV, perhaps main event. So I'm hoping for that. We'll see. Heading into our third match of the evening, of the card, I should say. We have Great Kabuki. Again, he is squaring off with Jesse Relampago Leon. Kabuki and Leon squared off in a singles match with a 10-minute time limit. And the Great Kabuki started things off with taunting Leon with nunchucks. So look out. This guy knows karate, and he ain't afraid to use it. Kabuki worked over the neck and throat of Leon to keep control. And I did make note here in my review that Kabuki's hands were soaked with green mist to the point that it looked like he was wearing green surgical gloves. Now, at this time for Kabuki, again, this is his first appearance apparently on TV. But at this time, and definitely through the year, before the bell even rings, Kabuki will spray both hands individually with a throat full of green mist. I mean, a ton. To the point where, like, it's down his chest, it's on his opponent's clothes, it gets on the ring mat, it's just everywhere. So, as cool as it looks and it adds to the mystique of Kabuki, I wouldn't want to wrestle him. Not only for the kicks and stuff he throws, because they look snug, but the frickin' green mist everywhere, man. It's all over. Mentioning the kicks, you know, he threw some awesome savate kicks to the throat, only to follow it up with a silly side-squeezing submission hold. If there's one thing Kabuki's famous for, it's definitely his mist. But at this time, it is also his weird, kind of boring nerve holds that he does. He'll grab, like, the ribs and do a nerve hold, which is kind of weird. He moved into more joint manipulation here that kept Leon locked down with only short-lived bursts of offense to his credit. Kabuki closed out the match with a second rope throat thrust to Leon. After the match, several wrestlers, including Kerry Von Erich, came down to break up the post-match beatdown. Kerry and Kabuki shared a heated stare-down until Kabuki's manager, Gary Hart, kept his man away on the outside. Great Kabuki seems to be pretty much the top heel of the promotion, and he came across well in that role during this match. Now, my opinion on him, I love the Great Kabuki. I think his presentation is off the charts. I think his moves, compared to most people in 1982, are really good looking and come across as impactful and dangerous. The way he wears his hair down into his face with the makeup underneath. I mean, it's a total horror show, which is awesome. Just really, really unique and kind of jumps off the screen. And that's me saying it in 2024. So again, if this is stuff that you haven't watched, or maybe you haven't seen it since it aired, you need to go back. You need to go on to Peacock and you need to watch it because it all starts here. As far as my opinion on the match, for delivering its intended purpose and foreshadowing a match with Kerry and Kabuki down the road, this match earns a 1.5 from me. So we're bumping it up. You know, we went half a star first match, full star second match. Here we are, 1.5, third match in. I try not to be too harsh with these reviews because I know it's coming, and I don't want to be handing out 4 stars, 3.5 stars, 5 stars when I know that stuff's coming. So I'm trying to keep it in respect of World Class's timeline. You know, what's great and what's maybe skippable. So that's kind of how I come up with these. Anyway, let's get to the main event, shall we? That's right. It is time again. Let's review. We got Killer Tim Brooks and Arman Hussein versus Kerry and Kevin Von Erich, the Von Erich boys. Let's get right into it. Brooks and Arman squared off against Kerry and Kevin in a tag team match main event here. 20-minute time limit. So we're bumping it up. It ain't 10. It's going 20. Maybe not. Maybe it won't go 20. Probably not. This one, though, differently than the previous 3 matches on the card, would see 2 officials in the ring at once. So there you go. The champs, who were apparently Brooks and Hussein, were definitely the heels here. Arman was walking through basically a religious pre-match ceremony. He'd kind of go from each corner and stomp and kind of pace and then do more stomps. And it's 1982 territory wrestling, folks. It's not overcomplicated. It's a foreign heel gimmick. Is it all that creative? Not really. But it gets heat. We're in Dallas, baby. Might be a cold January night, but there is some heat in the Sportatorium. And it's going to Arman Hussein and Killer Tim Brooks. The heels worked Kerry over for most of the early part of the match here, with Kerry only getting in some brief work on Killer Tim Brooks at points. An unseen tag kept Kevin out of the ring. And that was until Kerry was dumped over the top rope by his hair. You can't go over the top rope during this time. NWA rules results in a disqualification. I don't know. That's just what they did. But that wasn't the case here. Kevin went into a frenzy, though, after this happened and sent Hussein into the post on the outside. Kevin finally got the hot tag in. He had a couple awesome drop kicks and captured a near fall on Hussein. Kevin nearly applied the Iron Claw, but Brooks came in to break it up. Jerk. All 4 men ended up in the ring at the same time. And I thought it was comical because, again, the whole point of 2 officials was to make sure that order was maintained, and that is not happening here. So, there you go. Kevin was thrown to the floor, and Kerry worked over big time, with several double team moves being applied to him. Kevin finally recovered and was able to score the 3 count after going to the top and hitting a nice-looking surprise sunset flip into a pin. And that was from the top rope, sunset flip. Pretty cool. The 2 teams continued the battle after the bell until officials were able to raise the hands of the Von Erichs. Not bad. Not overly special. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill tag team match for the Von Erichs here. It was that brawling type, chaos-y kind of deal. 1.5 for me. I would say it's on par with the preceding match. Again, we'll see better, and I think the opponents for tonight, for the Von Erichs, left a little bit to be desired. To be honest, I'm not a huge Arman Hussein guy as far as in-ring stuff goes. I think he's pretty boring. Um, and I would say Killer Tim Brooks at this time is kind of nearing past his prime. So he's definitely like an older guy, older guard type of deal. I think Kevin and Kerry will have a lot better matches against guys who are young, hungry, athletic, and just maybe a little bit more dynamic, let's say. But nonetheless, that'll come. So here you go. You got your main event here tonight. 1.5 stars. Could it be better? Sure. Will we see better? Absolutely. Closing out the show, Gene Goodson thanked us for tuning in and thanked Jose Lothario for joining him on commentary. He assured us that Jose will be returning next week, but not at the commentary table, in the ring instead. So we get a Jose Lothario match next week. Also next week, Kerry Von Erich will take on the Great Kabuki. Boom. There you go. Our prayers have been answered. We're getting spoiled. And it's going to be episode 2. We're already spoiled. He ends his spiel here with, be sure to tune in next time for some exciting wrestling action. And I'll tell you guys what. That's exactly what I plan on doing. So we'll see if you join me. Final show thoughts. As far as a year starting episode and kind of a series starting episode for World Class TV, I would say as far as match wise, it left a little bit to be desired. I think you guys picked up on that. But I watch with rose-colored glasses. Again, I like this stuff. I like a break from 2024. So I can't say that I didn't enjoy watching this episode, because I did. I've always had a soft spot, again, for the style and the talent that came out of World Class Championship Wrestling. But I've never watched something from this far back from the beginning. So as far as weekly episodic wrestling television, 82 is the oldest I've invested time in. So there you go. I look forward to Kabuki and Kerry Von Erich going one-on-one next week, and we could see some good steam starting to build behind a guy like Big Daddy Bundy. Again, beyond the big main event match, which I'm assuming is going to be the main event match next week. Big Daddy Bundy, he's starting to heat up. He's got a win under his belt. He's, maybe vying for that top spot along with Von Erichs as some of the biggest fan favorites of the show. We'll see. Again, a little weird considering who it is, I know. But bear with us. We'll see what happens. As far as this episode goes, guys, again, for a very premier first episode, could it be better? Sure. But at least it gives us a baseline. Right? Now we have a starting point. It can only go up from here. 4 matches, 4 wins, 4 losses. Let's go on to next week. I hope you'll be there. I'll be there. You'll be there. We'll see you guys then.